All right, guys, our guest tonight. He is the new TNA X Division champion and the greatest man that ever lived. Austin Aries, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing well. Thank you very much. Good to be here. How's everyone?
I can't complain. Listen, I gave you the best intro possible. You just won the X Division championship. You're already the greatest man that ever lived. How did it feel to win the X Division championship again?
Oh, it was a nice little step up for the X Division title, and spoke with the X Division title last night, and he's really happy to be back around my ways.
All right.
Austin, since you initially cashed in the X Division title and ultimately won the TNA World title, the X Division World title has been, bounced around a little bit, different superstars, hasn't really been a focal point of the product. Now that you're X Division champion again, do you feel like you have a responsibility to kind of rebuild the prestige back to the point where it was during your last reign?
Yeah, my responsibility is just to go out there and do whatever I'm asked to do to the best of my ability. I don't put any extra pressure on myself. Again, I look at it this way. I don't necessarily get rubs from championships. I like to feel the championship gets a rub off of me. So if being around my waist is something that's going to help the X Division title become a little more prominent on the television show, then that's great. Whatever I'm asked to go out there and accomplish, I'm going to do to the best of my ability.
BG?
Yeah, Austin, looking ahead to the future, are you planning on cashing in the X Division title to become TNA World Champion?
If that opportunity makes sense, obviously with the option C stipulation that was implemented a couple years ago, thanks to yours truly, that's an option I could have if and when I decide to take advantage of it.
All right, listen, this is your fourth time winning the X Division title now. How is it different winning now? You're a little bit older now than you were in 2011 when you won it the first time. How is it? How does it feel now winning it 3 years later?
Well, I mean, the first time you win it, obviously, in some regards, it cements yourself as being at a certain level, a championship level. And, but after you've done it a couple of times, I don't want to say it's old hat, but, that's not the end of the journey. The X Division Championship for me is just part of the journey. And, I always have my eyes set on the next goal. And, hey, as long as there's championship titles that I don't have around my waist or on my shoulders in TNA, then I feel like my journey's never complete.
MJ?
Yeah, Austin, obviously the big angle in TNA right now has to do with AJ Styles winning the TNA World title, defending it in other promotions across the world. And there's been a lot of talk about whether AJ's contract's actually up, if it's just part of the storyline. But whatever the case, what are your impressions of how the AJ situation's been handled since he won the title at Bound for Glory?
Well, I guess my opinions honestly don't really matter because, the storyline for me is, as far as that goes, that's to entertain the fans and that's to keep them engaged in what's going on with the company. I will say that any time that you have the opportunity to take the top prize in the company, you get to take that internationally and maybe compete and defend it in some territories in front of some sets of fans that don't normally get to have that honor. I think that's a great thing for the company. That helps get the brand out there. It helps get the product out there. A guy like AJ Styles is obviously, a great talent, and he's gonna go out there and put on a performance that's befitting of a man who's the world heavyweight champion. So from that standpoint alone, I don't see how there can be anything negative coming from AJ taking that belt all over the world and defending it against anybody who wants an opportunity. I know that's the same mindset I've had in my past when I've been world champion. Bring them all on, near and far. We don't like to sit here and pretend that the only wrestling is the wrestling that happens in our universe. There's professional wrestling going on all over the world, and we want to acknowledge all of it and put our best against their best anytime.
BG?
Yeah, Austin, do you think it's time for companies to start scaling back on the storyline aspect of the TV show and focus more on the in-ring product?
That's not really for me to say. I think, ideally you have the right blend of both. I talk to a lot of wrestling fans, not only the hardcore, wrestling fans who obviously have a voice that, they're able to use via social media, the internet, things like that. I talk to just a lot of, mainstream common wrestling fans, people who maybe used to watch it back in the day, kind of get back into it now. And those people valued the storylines and the characters as much, if not more, than the actual in-ring competition. So I think it's important that we don't alienate any type of wrestling fan, and we give everybody a little something that they can grab onto and appreciate, whether that's in-ring story or the actual storylines or the in-ring competition itself.
All right, let's go back to your title reign in TNA. It was one of the biggest moments when you won finally in TNA history when you beat Bobby Roode. It was awesome. Tell us about how that changed your outlook on the business and how it changed the goals that you had set for yourself.
Well, for me, I've always been a big believer in myself, and that, if you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna make the most of it. And I was thankful that TNA saw the potential in me and put me in a position to fulfill something like winning the World Heavyweight Championship. And for me, it was affirmation of all the hard work I put in, some of the bumps along the road that I had to kind of maneuver. And that was like kind of the culmination of it all was winning the top prize in TNA Impact Wrestling. So, for me, I welcome those challenges. I welcome being put in the top spot and the pressure that comes with it. And to be quite honest, I would have liked to sunk my teeth into that journey a little bit more. But Jeff Hardy came along and unseated me, and now I'm trying to find my way back and climb back up that mountain.
Mike Chiari?
Austin, after beating Bobby Roode for the title last year, the fans obviously responded really well, and I think it could easily be argued that you were the most popular guy in the company, but you turned heel leading up to Bound for Glory against Jeff Hardy, ultimately lost the title to him. In retrospect, do you feel like maybe your heel turn last year might have been a bit premature considering everything you had to overcome in order to win the title in the first place and considering how over you were with the crowd at the time?
Well, you have to understand that there's decisions that I control and there's decisions I don't control, and that was a decision that really wasn't under my control. So in retrospect, I still feel that was a decision that wasn't under my control. And for me to really comment on any more than that, at this point, I don't see any benefit to that. Everything you said was true. The buzz I had around me, the fan support I had around me was organic. It was something that grew over time, and it was authentic. And I definitely think that, when you have a situation like that, you want to use that to your advantage the most you can. And I'll let everybody else sit there and debate whether or not that actually happened or not. That being said, it's going to be tough anytime you're going to stand against the ring against a guy like Jeff Hardy, who really has such a strong fan base of support. It's going to be really hard not to divide the fans and ultimately make them choose one side or the other, and that's kind of what happened.
BG?
Yeah, listen, do you have a favorite match or rivalry that you consider your favorite?
Well, you know what? The different time periods, different answers, I suppose. I mean, you go back in my Ring of Honor run, and obviously memorable matches with Samoa Joe, memorable matches with Bryan Danielson, CM Punk. I really enjoyed my time I spent in there kind of locking horns with Jimmy Jacobs, who brought a whole different type of mentality out of me as a performer. And I think he's really underrated in what he does. I've always enjoyed my tag wrestling, whether it's been with Roderick Strong, later on with Bobby Roode and TNA. I have appreciation for a lot of different things that I've gotten the opportunity to do because they all bring a little something different out of you. And I like to be a well-rounded performer and continue to grow. So, off the top of my head, those are guys that I've always appreciated being in the ring with, and I've always, as a performer, look forward to mixing it up with those guys.
Listen, you talked about indie wrestling, and it is one of the reasons that we as hardcore fans really love the sport. Just for a second, talk about you were one of the greatest Ring of Honor champions in history, the only two-time champion in history. You were great in PWG. You were one of the biggest indie stars for a long, long time. Talk about the influence that had on your career now, looking back as a four-time X Division champion and one-time world champion.
Well, the whole thing is when I started this journey, my goal was to say that, professional wrestling was my job. And, luckily there are ways to do that without being signed to one of the major companies. Obviously, from when I started wrestling to now, that there's been a big change in the landscape of wrestling as far as where those opportunities lie. WCW was still going around when I first started in the business, and that's obviously no longer the case. But then you have places like, TNA and Ring of Honor, which have popped up to give some guys a platform to continue to make money and do it as a job. I think the biggest thing that most guys take who have kind of worked a similar path I have, which is kind of just, the independent scene all over the globe, is that you learn how to put on quality performances in front of different sets of eyes and different people, because it's not really a one-size-fits-all mentality when it comes to going out there and entertaining. And so you have to know who your crowd is and who your audience is, and understand that different things and different styles of wrestling and different psychologies work in front of different crowds. And I think that's one thing that you see the guys who have gone on to TNA or WWE, the guys who have been most successful come from that background, because they realize that it takes different things to entertain different nights, and they can find out what that formula is going to be for that evening, and they can always go out there and put on a great quality, performance.
Mike Chiari?
It's no secret that Impact, it's no longer on the road full time. You guys are kind of based in Orlando right now. You have the big European tour coming up, but aside from that, how's the feeling within the locker room and for you personally as far as coming back to Orlando and doing a lot of tape shows is concerned? Is there disappointment, or is it more a feeling of, understanding what needs to be done in terms of TNA remaining viable?
And the one thing is that, we're taking a lot of our, television, back to Orlando, but, just from me taking a glimpse at the schedule coming out to the beginning of next year, we've got a lot of live events, and actually even more than I think we had last year. So if that's any indication, our product is going to be getting out there just as much on the road, just not in the television capacity as much. So I think that's important, a distinction to make. Sometimes you have to take a step back in one area to take a step forward in others. And so I think right now the company is just trying to find the formula that's going to work and be financially, successful and allow us to continue to grow. And, again, people get paid to make those decisions. I'm not one of them, so I'm just going to, follow along and make the best of the things that I can control.
BG?
Yeah, Austin, you're the greatest man that ever lived, but there's a lot of debate on the internet on whether or not you could actually lift up somebody as fat as Donnie Wood for the Brain Buster.
Well, I mean, I've picked up some larger gentlemen in my time, anywhere from 300-pound Samoans. Bully Ray was not a lightweight by any stretch of the imagination, and then probably the heaviest guy I ever lifted was Joey Ryan. Now, I don't know if he's got something in his boots or what, but my God, that guy almost herniated 3 of my discs in my back when I tried to find out him.
Yeah, I think it's something in his trousers. I'm not sure. Listen, Aries, we appreciate your time. We really do. Let's tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, where they can find you on the internet, man.
Best way to follow me is at Austin Aries, and that's Aries, Aries, like the zodiac sign, not like Buenos Aires. At Austin Aries, you can find all my musings on there. Follow my vegan lifestyle, my music, and my wrestling as well. So that's the best place to keep up with me.
And every Thursday on Impact. So we appreciate your time, Austin Aries. Thank you for coming on the show. We really do.
Thank you, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your evening.